Mayor Tonita Gutierrez Giron.
Present.
Counselor David G. Romero.
Here.
Counselor Barbara Casey.
Here.
Counselor Vincent Howell.
Here.
Counselor David A. Ulibarri Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a quorum.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm the one that signs for all our residents here in Las Vegas, north south. To just do betterment for the city. And for anybody to help us out, that is in comes out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
What is the pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Second roll call.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for August 14th special meeting, August 14th work session, and August 21st, 2019 regular session.
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Casey.
I move approval of the minutes for August 14th special meeting, August 14th work session, and August 21st regular meeting with minor amendments.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Romero. Counselor Howell.
Here, yes, yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Howell and Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is mayor's appointments and reports. Madam
I
Mayor?
don't have appointments, but I do have a report, and this report I'd like to address to you, Phil, from the Optic. I noticed that you wrote the article about Las Vegas budget approved by DFA, and in your article, you cite in the first, second, third, fourth paragraph, fifth paragraph, actually, that in the letter to Guadalupe DFA said, due to its estimated expenditures and transfers exceeding estimated revenue, your entity's general fund cash balance is depleted by 13.27%, and that's usually under the 8%. So I don't know if you understood that on the budget. And in addition to that, you go on to discuss other issues regarding the actual budget and the budget. You didn't take into consideration the cash balances, so I'm going to provide you with a copy of the actual cash balances, which are quite substantial to the city. And also, you continue to the next paragraph. The letter also reminded that the city that the budget increases and transfers between funds not included in the final approval budget via submission must be approved by local government division. Basic protocol for all localities is that all transfers are approved. So I got some feedback from some of the community members. They felt that that was somewhat negative because maybe they didn't understand as you didn't. So what I did is I also put in addition to that something that you need to know and I think needs to be disclosed publicly. The City of Las Vegas 2020 budget includes 30 million or over 30 million, and it goes on with the exact number in cash balance as of the June 30th, 2019, and 5 million in investments, which will be carried over to utilize in the 2020 budget. That doesn't mean that we are spending frivolously or ridiculously. We have individuals here who monitor the budget very carefully, and I must commend them for that. Total revenues and cash balance expected is over 40 million, plus the 30 million, plus the 5 million. So we're looking at the total revenue and cash balances of 76 million, the total expenditures of 52 million, and also the total June 30th, 2020 expected cash balance of 24 million. So just so you know. And I'm going to provide you with a copy of this. So Daniela, could you please give him this? Now, was somebody speaking out of turn when I was reading this? Okay, well, please remain in order. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. If you have any other questions, please discuss this with Tana. She's an expert in local budgets, and not everybody understands it. We think they do, but it's very complicated. I understand that. Okay, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is mayor's recognitions and proclamations.
I have
Madam
none
Mayor?
at this point.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Oh, actually, I do. I want to recognize Councilor Olivari. I'm sorry. I forgot to recognize him at the last meeting for being present at the 9/11 event. It was a great event with a lot of the veterans and also a lot of people. So thank you for being present. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. The next item on the agenda is public input, and we have Paul Hesch from 258 Frontage Road. Hesch? I believe it is.
That's correct.
I might have missed it.
That's correct.
Good evening.
Madam
How are you?
Mayor,
Welcome.
councilors, it's a pleasure to be here. No agenda, no criticism. So I just wanted to thank you for serving our community. We are actually out in the county just a little bit, just over our city line, but this is our city and we love this city. We pray for you and we honor you all. What I wanted to do is come and invite you to an event we're having on the 28th, 27th of September. For the last 4 years, we've been having a steak dinner for our local law enforcement and fire department, all our local heroes. And I wanted to personally come and invite you to that event. It'll go from 11 till 3 that day. And I just brought that for you. And again, thank you for serving our community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The next person on public input is Cordia Sama.
Good evening, Ms. Hammond. How are you?
Good evening, viewers. And Mayor. I just wanted to take this opportunity to inform people, in case they haven't heard, that there's going to be a global climate strike that will be the next week. It's the 20th, this Friday, in Santa Fe for us. And then that whole week will be a week of education about what's happening with our climate. And this is well, it was started by the young people because they feel very abandoned by the adults, and I don't blame them. And there's going to be over 150 countries that are taking part in this, and over 1,000 cities. So it's going to hopefully make a significant showing. And this at Samia's, we're going to be sitting at in front of Samia's, and we're going to be helping people if they want to make posters to go to the climate strike. And anybody who wants to come over, if they are at the parking lot at 9:30 on Friday, that's tomorrow, we will help them get over to Santa Fe, because we want as many people as we can to support the young people who are fighting for their lives at this point. And we have an excellent movie for people that really don't understand what is happening. And anybody that wants to see the movie will be putting it on for people so they can get more information, because I think a lot of it is just not knowing what's happening. It's very, very serious at this point. And then on the upside, our Tierra Encantada Market is having our festival this Saturday, and we'll have live music, lots of good activities for children, and just a good time. So if you can stop by, please do. It goes from 8 till 3, and we had a great time last year, and I expect we'll do it again this year. And the other thing is we'll have tabling at the fiesta about the climate problem, and also about regenerative agriculture, which can actually put carbon back into the ground. It's one of the possible solutions to the problem we're facing. And so if you have questions or you want to get more about that, that'll be available there. So please come and see us and support it, because it's probably more critical than any other issue we're facing right now as a civilization.
Thank you very much.
And I want to just give each of you. Mrs. Gutson.
Ms. Salmon, could you please give them to the clerk?
Oh,
She'll pass it. That's okay.
Oh, did you want to do that? Okay, yes, go ahead. No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person on public input is Mr. Lalo Sanchez on suggestions. Mr. Sanchez?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all you other people. Chief, I would like to start with you. There's some vehicles that aren't numbered, and apparently some of the officers are breaking the law and doing all kinds of things that they shouldn't be doing, and they're giving citations to private citizens for the same things that they are doing.
Mr. Sanchez,
So,
could you please address the council? Thank you.
okay, I'm sorry. This is for the chief itself, and it would be nice if they would number their vehicles, because a lot of the officers are breaking the law, and apparently nobody's reporting them or can't report them because they can't report a vehicle that doesn't have a number. And it would be nice if they were numbered, because I would like to report them for the infractions that they're causing, and they're giving tickets to other people for the same infractions that they're causing. Also, for the chief, I have been trying to get a hold of him for the past 3 weeks to no avail. He's either busy on the phone, out on the field, out of state, out of city. He's nowhere to be found. Sorry I can't find him, but it would be nice if I could. The next thing is crosswalks. Very important in this city. Last year, I also mentioned the crosswalks for mostly for the students, pedestrians, so that's their safety zone. Apparently they went and they marked all the crosswalks on North Gonzales. On every intersection, they marked all the crosswalks. But apparently they just did that on North Gonzales, and maybe that was just to shut me up, I don't know. But that's not going to work, because we need crosswalks all over the city, not just on North Gonzales. And as far as the pets are concerned, I don't know where this individual comes up with sometimes that he says that they pick up 100 dogs all over the city within the month. And apparently on North Gonzales, apparently they never go there, because after 10 p.m. up until 4 a.m., the dogsmen are running around wild. Cats are loose, and they're just making the dogs run around wild and making all kinds of noise and keeping everybody up, and they're not picking up those dogs. So something needs to be done. Also on my utilities, I'm supposed to be getting a receipt every month, and I haven't been getting them for the past 4 months. I don't know what Jody's problem is, but I haven't gotten one in the past 4 or 5 months, and I'm supposed to be getting a receipt every time I make a payment on a contract that I have on the water contract, and I haven't been getting any receipts, so I don't know what the problem is, but I want receipts, and this is on this coming month. My payment is my last payment on the contract, and I would like to get a receipt for sure on paid in full, so I wouldn't have to have any more problems with the utility department as far as that goes. I have a lot of other suggestions and a lot of other items that I need to get into, but I won't, because I don't want to take up your time and I don't want to take up mine. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. That concludes public input. Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is presentations, and we have Ms. Kathleen Dudley on 5G. Good evening, Ms. Dudley.
Good evening, Ms. Dudley, and thank you for being here.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Okay, Ms. Dudley, you have 10 minutes.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk on the issues of 5G. 5G is an interesting technology that has been on a fast track, not just in this country, but all around the world. And it has been given FCC approval. And yet, in Congress, when a senator spoke with the telecommunication industry spokespeople and asked them, have you done any health or safety studies on 5G technology? They rather quietly responded no. So we have a technology that is being pushed by industry, and thanks to Citizens United, with unlimited funds to put officials into office, we have government officials who are also pushing for 5G. This is a $30 billion effort. So there are many hands, both Democrat and Republican, that are going to be benefiting by this new technology. Now, 5G per se is not the culprit. We're talking about previous generations as well. And the concerns that I have here have to do with our informed consent and whether or not we as individuals have a right to refuse a technology that can harm us. Or are we just going to be another series of experiments that industry decides to put upon us? All we have to do is look back at the asbestos industry. 40 years later, asbestosis, deaths, lung cancers from asbestosis. Now, industry knew about the harmful effects of asbestosis, of asbestos. How about cigarette smoking and the nicotine in the tobacco? It took a very long time to get the Surgeon General's warnings on cigarette packages. The addiction from that chemical is very strong, and we have many people addicted. Even the vapors from vaping is known to cause popcorn in the lungs within a very short period of time, and addiction. And we have many young people who are vaping, as well as older people. So, as far as the 5G is concerned, it's a technology that is 10 to 100 times stronger than 4G, than 3G, than 2G. It has, it's a wireless communication that has tremendous money behind it and potential money to be gained. The problem with 5G is that it has a very short distance span. And so the 5G will be installed at light posts very close to one another, so between 1 to 5 houses in urban environments, because the range for the 5G, while it's extremely strong, is not very long in terms of distance. That means that every human will be impacted 24/7 by these radioactive frequencies. We can't turn them off. Today, in our homes, if we have Wi-Fi, we can turn off our Wi-Fi emitter. We can turn off our cell phone. But with 5G, at the rate that the technological companies are pushing this, no one will be able to escape it. There will be hundreds of satellites launched into the atmosphere, and this dirty energy that it will be spreading, dirty energy is a technical term in science. They have no idea what that will do to the ionosphere. But we do know that these satellites that are being launched by Elon Musk, by Amazon, and other technological companies, that these satellites have an extended period of existence, and then they explode, and they come back down, and they will actually create damage to our atmosphere, further damaging our ozone layer, and adding to the warming of the Earth because of the damage. So its own contribution to climate change is of concern, and we actually do not know the full extent of that. So not only is our atmosphere being tested, but we are all being tested because we do not have industry saying, we've tested this, we know what the results are. However, there are over 30,000 scientific peer-reviewed studies from all around the world. Italian, Spanish, German, Swiss, Brazilian scientists having done these studies. And the results of those studies are serious. We have aspects of tumors in the brain we have leukemia, and a particular concern are our children because they are developing. Their immune systems are not developed, their cellular structures are still very, very soft and developing. There are certain people that are very sensitive to 5G radiation. The problem is, as science is showing, is that we are all susceptible because we are light energy beings. We are frequencies. Our mitochondria in the cell is an energy bacteria. It communicates to the nucleus in that cell. If the ATP, which is the protein factor in the cell, is inhibited in any way, then the actual health of the cell in our body is damaged. When that happens, we lose our own vitality. Currently today, 43% of our children have autoimmune diseases, just a spike and increase in the last 20 years. That's alarming, great concern. And it can be tied directly to the studies showing the impact of radio frequencies. We have a really serious issue in front of us. There are scientists and doctors and lay people across the globe who are becoming conscious, becoming aware, becoming educated about what is happening. Those of us in this room will probably not financially benefit much from this. There might be some people who will. But for the most part, every one of us will be impacted. Because when that radioactive microwave frequency impacts our mitochondria, we will be altered. Because our cell cannot respond with the kind of resistance or the symbiosis of this intense frequency. It will damage us. And a damaged cell, a damaged DNA is a precursor to cancer. The overall concern in all of this is, according to retired Senator Bobby Kennedy Jr., particularly for the children, and I'll list a number of the health effects that the studies are showing. Brain tumors, DNA damage, altered gene expression, neurological effects, cognitive impairment, impaired sperm function and quality. 50% of our males today cannot father a child. What is going on in our society? Cardiovascular diseases, learning and memory deficiencies, and many more. And this is not just on the humans. 5G has been shown to explode the metabolism of insects. The heat of this 5G is such that it goes 1 to 2 millimeters beneath the skin and is related to a tremendous increase in skin cancers. Bobby Kennedy was at Standing Rock, and the electric and magnetic frequencies were used for crowd control. And in the interview, he said that he could feel the heat beneath his skin when they used these technologies on the crowd. We have at this point in time an industry that has so much power and so much control that unless we push back, unless we speak out and become educated, we could live in a society where not only will our bees be obsolete, but all the insects, and we're seeing the insect population decline all over the world. There are many things that we can do. We can use our own Wi-Fi apparatuses, our cell phones, less. We can protect our children by not giving them to them. We can use Ethernet cables to hardwire our own Wi-Fi accesses into our homes and our businesses to protect ourselves.
Dudley, I will give you 1 minute to wrap it up.
Thank you. We can use headsets on our phones. In European countries, it's required that a headset be sold with a cell phone. And the SAR rating of the cell phone, the intensity of that cell phone, must be accommodated at the time of sale by the person who sells it. None of those precautions are given in this country. It's mute. So we have a lot to learn about. It's no different than with the glyphosate in this country and the damages of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Now the lawsuits, 3 that have been won, and the damaging impacts to health, both particularly with our men, because it is an estrogenic pesticide that causes breast tissue growth and diminishing gonad size. And we're losing our male population. And I, for one, really like our male population, quite intact. So, and very differentiated from our female population.
You do realize that we don't use any pesticides?
I am grateful to that, and I, you know, that is a very forward step by any municipality. And to have banned the use of Roundup, which includes glyphosate, is extremely proactive, and I thank you for doing that, because it's in the air, it's in the water, it's in the soil, it's in our rainfall, and it's in our tissue, it's in the breast milk, it's in our children. So to be a leader in that particular advancement is of significant importance. So thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Dudley.
And I do have a few handouts here. If I could.
Could you give them to the clerk, please?
Thank you, Ms. Dudley. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Ms. Dudley. The next week is we have Maria Gilberry, and she'll be doing a presentation on wastewater treatment system processes and permits. Ms. Gilberry, welcome.
Manager. Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening, Ms. Gilberry. How are you?
Doing good. Good. It's my pleasure to be able to give a presentation on our City of Las Vegas wastewater treatment plant. I'll be giving a high-level presentation. I'm going to cover field processes, treatment processes, disposal, staffing needs and reorganization proposal, and the accomplishments.
I'm sorry, continue.
So I wanted to start off with field work, kind of an understanding of where our wastewater employees perform their services. One group performs field work, which is where they'll work clearing sewer lines. We have over 100 miles of sewer lines that get that end up being having root intrusion as well as blockages from, unfortunately, many things that flush down the toilets that shouldn't be. So that's a big task, and we currently have 2 staff that are dedicated to that, along with a Sodermiller employee. This does require certification to perform collections, and our current 2 city employees are not certified to perform this, so we do have a certified Sodermiller employee that is teaching them many of the skills that they do not have, and they need to be able to have to perform this efficiently. In addition, we have 4 lift stations. They respond to all residential and business call-outs. And like I said, it's over 100 miles of sewer lines, so they spend almost a whole year going through all the sewer lines, and then they'll go back through them in the following year. Some of the issues that they have to deal with: clothes, rags, grease, roots, trash. Our pipes are old. We still have clay pipes. We have some manholes that are made out of brick. So there's some deterioration which ends up ending up in the sewer line that has to be cleared out. Up until now, we've had a lack of maintenance, which has resulted in backups into homes and businesses and many tort claims. So being able to have some dedicated staff to work on clearing the lines will reduce tort claims and improve our services to our customers. Now I'd like to go over the treatment plant. At the treatment plant, there are several different portions of the treatment plant. The sewage starts in at the entrance works. At this point, much of the debris that I've been talking about that does make it past the sewer lines ends up collecting at the entrance works. There have been rags, toys, even golf balls. A few weeks ago, we had a golf ball that got stuck, and it's perfect size to actually stop the entire process. So things do end up getting all the way through the sewer system and making it all the way to the entrance works. Staff do perform technical maintenance. There are blowers, motors, and sensors just in this facility that have to be maintained, inspected, replaced on a regular basis. Following the entrance works, this is where the treatment process really gets going. This is where the sewage water is cycled and recycled with air injected into it. The purpose is to keep the microorganisms alive, to help the process of breaking down the organics that come from the homes and the businesses, and turn the influent that has been coming in into an effluent that meets EPA standards and allows us to discharge it into the river or to be used at parks and facilities. This is a critical area. If there is an imbalance in the process here, we can end up losing the microorganisms, and then that basically kills the whole plant, and we actually have to bring in brand new microorganisms to restart the plant. That's what happens when you first start off with a brand new plant. You have to bring in microorganisms to start the process. So in this part of the facility, it's really critical for there to be regular maintenance to ensure that the dissolved oxygen levels are at appropriate levels, that we are returning the proper amount of activated sludge to keep those microorganisms alive and to maintain that balance. This is a very precarious portion of the plant, and they do spend several, they make several trips out to this aeration basin every day to make sure that the mixers, the motors, the blowers, and everything are operational and maintaining that balance. There are 8 mixers, 3 industrial-sized blowers, 6 lift pumps, and then we also have 6 other lift pumps, or activated sludge pumps and waste-activated sludge pumps that they do maintain. They try and maintain them at the facility. They do try and repair them at the facility when necessary. If it does exceed their capabilities, we do have a contractor that we work with. So as with most electronic and mechanical equipment, pumps, mowers, and blowers require daily maintenance, and there are regular maintenance programs that we have to follow according to the manufacturer specifications. And something as simple as when I was out there the other day, it was just a little bit of vibration, and we realized there was an imbalance, and staff had to address that. And so following the aeration basin is the section called the clarifiers. This is where the sludge separates from the supernatant, allows us to reuse the sludge in the return activated sludge process. That's what keeps the microorganisms alive. It continues feeding off of the organics that are brought to the treatment plant through the influent, and the supernatant is allowed to go to the discharge point where we disinfect it prior to putting it in the river or making it available to parks and the city for irrigation. So there's 2 things we can do here. We can reuse it or we can discharge it. And like I said, this becomes a critical point for the supernatant. We must disinfect it, and it must meet EPA standards, and there cannot be any chlorine residual in the water when we discharge it to the river. We do have a permit through the EPA that has all the stipulations that we must meet before we can discharge to the river, as well as our effluent reuse permit that gives us all the requirements that we must meet to be able to use it in our effluent system for our parks and golf courses. We do use a UV system for disinfection. So we've gotten away from the chlorine. We don't want to have to deal with the safety concerns with chlorine, so we use disc filtration to remove as many of the particles as possible, and then we use UV to disinfect. That takes care of the water side. We still have the sludge. The sludge goes through a digestion process. We'll send it to digesters, and that basically turns this back into soil. It becomes a very natural organic product. It is something that some wastewater facilities turn into compost, and will actually make available. It is a permitting process for that as well. The city does not have a permit to be able to do that. That is something that I would like to look into in the future, but it is very comprehensive to be able to take your sludge waste, develop a composting process, and be able to make it available. So what we have to do now is we have to dispose of it at a piece of property we have up by the airport. And how we do that is we have a tanker truck, and we will load the tanker truck up with the sludge. We will drive it up to a piece of city property near the airport. And this piece of equipment that you can see in the top left corner is called a Terrigator. It actually injects the sludge below the surface. We also have a permit for that. So there are EPA requirements that we have to meet with our injection process as well. And when I say we have all these requirements and these permits, all of our requirements, we have to do sampling, and we do the sampling out of our own laboratory. It is a certified laboratory, and there are entities around the state of New Mexico that actually bring their samples to us for us to sample. So our lab specialists, our lab technicians are certified, and our lab is certified. They do come in every year and inspect the lab, inspect the technicians, they'll test them, they'll do surprise visits, and make sure that they are meeting standards, they have all of their certifications that they're required, and that the processes are being handled properly. In the lab, they'll do daily sampling. There's daily process sampling. That's to ensure that the sludge and the supernatant and everything that's happening at the plant is meeting the parameters that we need it to meet, so that we don't kill off microorganisms or we don't cause any overflow of sludge or any negative impacts to the facility. So we'll do process sampling around the facility daily to make sure we're keeping up with our proper process. In addition, we have compliance sampling. There are specific places where we have to do compliance sampling, and this happens 3 days a week, and this is to meet our permit requirements. And water testing, we do water testing on Tuesdays. People will bring in samples from their wells. The state will bring in some samples, and so we dedicate Tuesday to doing sampling for others. There are also the reporting that's required. As I said, we have a 494 permit and an 1118 permit, and those require quarterly and annual reports, as well as a monthly discharge report. So quite kind of an overview of the plant maintenance with all the vehicles and equipments and groundkeeping, 22 pumps, 10 motors, blowers, generators, everything that we have. The staff spend a lot of time devoted to just operations and maintenance at the facility itself. So this is a different crew than who goes out into the field. In addition, we have community coordination. Anytime somebody's going to tie into a sewer line, we have to be involved. If a contractor does not tie in properly or builds a manhole that doesn't work with our system, it can cause backups and not only impact the business or the resident that's requesting that service, but it can impact everybody downstream. So any residential or business tie-in is required to meet with our wastewater staff to ensure that what they're going to do to connect to our system will not impact it negatively. We also coordinate with contractors even before they develop the projects. We've had a few architects and contractors get with staff to make sure that everything is designed properly to meet our needs and their needs. We work with engineers and some of the other unscheduled work. Earlier this year we had a lot of power outages, and that greatly impacted the facility. The facility is gravity fed up to a point, so we can't stop the water from going into the plant. So even if there's a power outage across town, that plant is still going to get the same flow throughout the day that it would normally get. So we must maintain power to be able to keep the wastewater flowing through the system. We do have aging generators. We're currently in the process of having our system reevaluated. We need to replace those generators. It is all regulated. It's regulated for our discharge as well as our operators. There is the 20.7.4.1 from NMAC that is our utility operator certification regulations. That's what we go by, that tells us who can do what. There are various levels for each one of the tasks required, and if you don't have that level, you cannot perform that task unless somebody above you is there who has the proper certification. And I'll get to that a little bit more in a minute when I get to training. Inspections, EPA and the NMED inspect us regularly. So does Surface Water Bureau, Groundwater Bureau, and the lab side of NMED. So we get several inspections every year. Required certifications for what's happening at the facility. To perform the work out in the field, you must have a collections 2. To perform work at the wastewater treatment plant, you must have a level 4. And that's to make process changes. So we can have people working at the facility who don't have these levels, but they must be directly supervised by somebody who does have the level. That does make it challenging if you have a level 4 who's in the lab who can't be out in the field or can't be up in the treatment process itself. So the Environment Department highly recommends multiple people in these positions to ensure that if there's vacations or illnesses or multiple situations happening, the city always has the proper coverage. For the wastewater lab, we must have a wastewater lab tech 2. The state, to clarify, the state requires certified, qualified, and competent staff to be on scene for direct supervision of process changes, tasks, or decisions. And how do we get to this point? I know that the council has expressed a concern with the fact that we've had to hire a contractor recently to be able to manage our facilities, and was tasking me with how am I going to help us get out of this? How am I going to help my facility move forward? The big portion of it, the big part of it is training. So the certifications for wastewater are Collections 1, Collections 2, small wastewater, and small wastewater advanced, wastewater operations 1 through 4, and lab tech 1 through 3. So these are the certifications that I'm encouraging my staff to obtain. To be able to help them obtain it, there are many training opportunities. In a profession like this, part of it is self-motivation. So there is opportunities to train at home. I have all the manuals that they need. They can take them home. There are YouTube videos they can watch. I'm working on some AWWA programs, American Water Works Association programs, that they can take home and help to advance their knowledge. In addition, the New Mexico Water and Wastewater Association has trainings, I believe, 4 or 5 times a year. I'm currently attending the wastewater one this week in Albuquerque, along with some other additional staff. The Drinking Water Bureau does provide training. They'll actually bring that training to Las Vegas. Sacramento State has an online program. It's a very impressive program. And there's a new one that I'm checking into. It's called Professional Training Association. So I'm hoping that's an additional opportunity here. And to kind of finish up quickly here, again, each one of the levels has a lot of experience that's required, level 1 through 4. To be able to be an operator level 4, you'll need over 4 years of experience. And that's only if you pretty much pass every exam at the time you're eligible to take it. Most of the time it takes over 6 years to get all the way up to a level 4. Another thing that I'm looking at, I'm working with the city manager on, is a proposed reorganization. One of the challenges that I have, and I'm going to go ahead and skip down here a little bit. One of the current challenges I have is our current org plan has 10 positions. And as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those positions filled out of 10. It is not a very, that org chart is not very conducive for growth. As you can see, there's really not much room or not many paths to promotion in each one of these fields that I just talked about. So I'm working with the city manager on a proposed reorganization that will give clear paths for those who are interested in laboratory, the laboratory train, those who are interested in the operations train, and those who are interested in the collections train. These are 3 separate trains that require professionals, they require people to be focused on these jobs and these tasks and not jumping around so much from one to the other. So with this proposed, and we are looking at it financially as well as feasibly, this will give employees a chance to focus on, do I want to become a professional in collections and work my way up to a collections supervisor, work my way up in operations, work my way up on the lab, and then once they get to the supervisor position, then there's some more cross-training that can happen to be able to see who may be a superintendent or management professional. Being a manager is somebody you really want to be able to have experience in all 3 of these areas. So just a visual is currently the org chart. The one on the left is the one I'm working off of. And again, I don't really have a good growth plan for anybody, which I think is a big part of this. I need to be able to show these young men and these young women that this is a profession, this is a career, and there is rooms for you to promote. Right now, I don't have a lot of room for promotion. So I'm hoping to work with something more along the lines of the one on the right that'll give people clear trains and paths to promotion. A lot of progress has been made recently, and I can go over more of that later because I know I've exceeded my 10 minutes. So does anybody have any questions?
I have some questions. I'll start. This is off your reorg chart, and not exactly, it kind of falls within that, but first of all, I want to ask you about the amnesty date.
Yes,
We've
ma'am.
discussed that, so now's a good opportunity.
Yes, I directed my manager to have it, we spoke, I think it was last week, I gave him 4 weeks to get it scheduled and get it implemented. I will get back with you on the date, but it will happen within the next 3 weeks.
And second of all, what is the status of the rate study?
The rate study, they got with me a final schedule. They're hoping to be able to present to the council in November.
I thought it was going to be in October. What happened?
That's where they're at right now, is that it'll happen in November.
Okay, I'll open it up. Counselor Casey, I believe you had a question?
Yes, I did. I would like to know, when somebody takes a test to move up a level,
Yes, ma'am.
how long does that normally take to get the results?
Usually they get the results within 4 weeks.
And who does the evaluation of the test?
So the tests are provided by the operator certification program from the state. So the state provides the tests, the state then grades the tests and provides the certifications and the results from the test.
Okay.
And one of the things they also offer is if somebody doesn't pass the test, they do provide them a little bit of guidance on the areas that they need to focus on.
Oh, that's good. I was going to ask, because I know that last month you reported that there were several employees who were taking the test to move up another level. So I was curious about how long it takes.
Yes, and I received notification, two of them had passed. I'm waiting for the notification on the third one. He was off, so. And then I believe I have a couple more testing on Friday.
So those are level 2s now?
One of them is now level 2. The other one, and that's in water distribution. The one I'm waiting for a response on, it was testing for his water 3 in operations.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Counselor?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Gilberry, this is about Bradner.
Yes.
When we were there to view the opening ceremonies, it was mentioned that you're going to be able to fill Bradner 1 foot a day.
Yes.
How is that going? Is it almost to its capacity?
We were
or
able
it's
to
going to take a long time?
We were able to fill 1 foot a day, and the state engineer has slowed us down to a certain flow right now. The last report I received was we were at over 80 acre feet, so we were at a third full.
Third full.
Yes.
So how long do you think it'll take to?
Another month or two.
Another month or two.
Yes, Councilor.
And then at that time, are we going to drain Peterson?
At that time, we'll let it set for a little while, and then we will test it to see how the water quality is. It is a different reservoir, so our treatment process is set up for Peterson. We'll have to analyze this quality of water and set our treatment process up for that. We are currently moving forward with the planning and design for Peterson, so we won't need to take Peterson offline just yet. Okay. We'll take Peterson offline when we need to, when it gets closer to time for construction.
We're not using Peterson?
We are currently using
We are
Peterson.
using-
Yes, Councilor.
Okay, so the rivers, how's the river? Is it flowing pretty strong?
The river's been doing pretty good for this agricultural season. We've had plenty of rain, and we've been able to work well with the other river users.
I see. Can you give us a status on the Acequias litigation?
No, Councilor, I cannot. I've not received an update on it.
Can the Madam Attorney give us an update?
We can be prepared to do that at the next meeting. We have water attorneys that are dealing with that. I can request an update.
The only thing I can give is from the last update, which was months and months and months ago, was that it was with the special master had already turned in his report, and it was with the judge.
Nothing else has come to you with regards to the Acequias or moving forward with the Acequias, is that correct?
Correct.
And I did try to bring him back to the table, but I was not successful.
So there is still a litigation at the court level?
The judge is making his decision on I believe it was the remand, yes.
Okay.
And this is on the final decision with the remand, is that
Yes.
correct?
Because I heard that the judge decided for the Acequia Association.
We have not
That's why I
heard
didn't-
anything. We've not been notified of anything.
No. And I've been in communication with our water rights attorneys, and I've not heard. I was told to be about a year before he might make a decision.
Could you follow up on that? That's
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Godard. The next item on the agenda is the city manager's report. And I have just, I'll be very brief. We did submit our CDBG application, and it was selected to be reviewed by DFA. We will be going to those hearings on Monday. I believe our hearing is set for 9 o'clock. There's going to be 20 cities and counties that will be heard. So we are the first on the list to be heard with, to be reviewed with our application. We'll have the engineers there. Mr. Robert Archuleta will be there, and I will be there myself to do the presentation. And so that'll be at the Sheraton, I believe, in Albuquerque. And if any of you are interested, by all means, please let me know. The next item,
On that, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what the outcome is of the ranking and rating process for City of Las Vegas?
No, and we won't know that until after the hearings.
So they haven't notified you, really?
No, ma'am. We also had several new hires in the month of August 2019. There was Miss Amber Gonzalez that was hired. We had Mr. Richard Barone at the Senior Center. We had Garrett Toes as a firefighter, Anita Valencia in utilities, Jonathan Ortega in utilities as well, Frederick Jasler as in police department, and Jesus Ortiz as a utility laborer as well. The Fiesta report, it will be forthcoming. We're still compiling the data for you, and so that'll be forthcoming to you as quickly as we can. And also the New Mexico Infrastructure Conference will be in Las Cruces, and that'll be October 23rd through the 25th. If any of you are interested, let us know, and we will get the paperwork started for you. That concludes my city manager's report. The next item is the finance report, and we have Ms. Tana Vega.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Finance Department would like to present the finance reports for the month of August. For the month ended August 31st, 2019. 16.66% of the year has lapsed, or rounded up, 17%. Total revenues collected in the general fund, $1,891,670. Total cash expenditures, $1,655,554. Enterprise funds. Revenues reflected on the accrual basis: wastewater, $489,051. Natural gas, $441,512. Solid waste, $601,583, and water at $874,555. Total expenditures for wastewater, $434,100. Natural gas, $439,002. Solid waste, $466,031. And water at $715,395. The recreation department brought in a total of $88,044, which included the transfer from the general fund, and actual cash expenditures were $105,971.
Questions, comments?
Any questions?
Councilor Howell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Vega, I just wanted to thank you for you submitting the check journals that we requested. I think it's going to take time for us to review it, but I appreciate you submitting it.
Councilor Casey?
Thank you. I have a lot of questions on the check journals, so please excuse me for doing that. I was looking through the listing, and there are quite a few payouts to DAG Enterprises under the name of the owner. The total $50,564. I would like to know how we're doing that, being that we didn't approve the contract for that particular entity.
Can you be, I would request that you be more specific as to which bank. Was it the Enterprise Bank?
Well,
It would be on page 1. And that is, he was still operating on the diesel contracts that was in place.
okay, he's on page 2,
Page 2.
3 different times. Page 3, 1 time. Page 4, 1 time. Page 7, 1 time. I believe that's, and then page 10, 1 more time. Page 9, also another time. Page 12. And I believe that's it for that one. So, if he was still working on an old contract, so these are all things that he hadn't completed and didn't complete it until now in August.
The only contract that was expired was for the gasoline. The diesel contract is still in place. So, like on page 1 through 4, that would be the utilities. And they're the ones that have the majority of the diesel trucks, mainly the solid waste. And that is the diesel contract that is still in effect. And then the other ones that were, you cited, that those would be the general fund, and those would have been on a month-to-month and on quotes for any gasoline.
Okay.
Okay.
I did not understand that the contract was still on for the diesel.
Oh, yes.
We had a lot of discussion on that, and
we had discussions concerning the gasoline contract, which had expired.
And I don't remember, because I believe it comes up for renewal, but I'm not sure the date. I can get the contract for you if you'd like, and put it in your box, but there is a diesel contract separate from the gasoline contract as well.
then there were quite a few listings for entities that I've never heard of. DeLoggy Landon Financial Services, who were they?
Copiers.
Copiers?
Yes, there are copiers, where we lease our copiers from.
Okay, SADA Systems?
Pardon?
SADA Systems?
I believe that would be SCADA.
SCADA is utilities.
It's utilities, right?
I don't think that's SADA. It's SADA.
Can you tell, what page?
That's on the first page, and it's check number 32219.
Interesting.
It's about halfway down.
I would have to look further into that, and it doesn't, it's
Doesn't ring a
not,
bell?
doesn't ring a bell. And what would have been nice about the check register would have been if they had given me a line item that it was,
Hold on.
for the.
That's for
what it meant about.
$39,000. That's a lot of money.
Kenny just gave us the
For
information.
the Gmail and the G Suites.
Okay.
Thank you, Kenny. Don't leave.
And is that like a one-time payment? Because that's a huge amount of money. Or is that monthly?
Yeah, that's an annual.
Okay. And then Stormwind LLC?
That is training for the IT department.
And what is Wex Bank?
That is the fuel cards, the
what?
gas cards.
Gas cards?
Yeah.
MCLL Incorporated? That was on page 3, towards the bottom of the page. It's the 7th one from the bottom. That's $56,000. That's a lot of money too.
Isn't that one of yours, Maria? Although that was paid out of the general fund, so, no. That one I don't recall, and I had picked that one up for, it was last year's, prior year invoice that was paid in the current year. And it was picked up for the audit report as an accounts payable.
Okay, it would be nice to know how much,
What it was
that
for? Yeah.
amount
What
of
it's
money was
specifically
used
for,
for.
yes.
The Master's Touch?
On page,
Billing?
billing?
Yeah. That's on page 4.
That would be for billing.
Billing? Yeah. Kansas State Bank of Manhattan?
Lease.
The what?
One of the large equipment items, lease
payments.
lease payments.
Hub International Insurance Services?
Hub, that would be the insurance for the airport. Since self-insurance does not cover airports.
Right. Dean Dairy Holdings, LLC?
That would be milk products for the senior center.
Goserco Incorporated? Goserco?
On what page?
It's on page 7, about a third of the way down.
I'm sorry, can you repeat it again?
It's for the PD recorder for the incoming Oscar.
Okay. McCormick's Sales Company?
That would have been a purchase of kitchen equipment for the senior center.
Oliver Packaging Equipment and Oliver Packaging and Equipment Company. That's also on page 8, towards the bottom.
Senior center. Is that the senior center?
That's what it
Okay.
sounds like, yes.
Thank you.
Trace. Excella Technologies.
Excella?
EXELA.
XELA.
It's on page 10, about the middle of the page.
For 4,827?
Yes.
That's it.
Okay.
We'll put a note and then get back to you,
Okay.
Counselor.
Yeah.
And then Strategy Consulting, ESTRATEGY Consulting.
On the same page, or?
That is on. I'm sorry, I can't find it. marked this up so much?
The amount?
I don't know if I can find it. Oh, here we go. It's on page 10, about the middle of the page, and the amount is $4,827. I'm looking for a strategy consultant.
Oh, it's right above it, for
Okay.
$32.36. Right above
Right,
Excel.
yeah. So what is that for?
I've
Oh.
never heard of the company. Huh?
Councilor Casey, E-Strategy is going to be for the disposal of used gloves and syringes.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
And Technicon training and consulting?
Do you have anybody attending training? No?
Sandia office supply?
Office supplies.
And there's also a Matthews office supply that's listed.
We
Here and
also
there.
use them. We use
What?
them in SPC and Sandia.
Okay, but most of that money for office supplies is going out of town. Is there any way that we might be able to utilize local businesses?
We do. We attempt to, we send out a request for 3 quotes on items, and we are going with the lowest. And
Holcomb Law Office, and that's on page 11.
that would be for
Dina Holcomb?
Dina Holcomb.
I'm sorry.
She's a payroll
She's HR.
HR
an
attorney.
Okay, I'm almost done. OCLC Incorporated, and that's also on page 11 at the bottom. It's 5 up from the bottom, or 4 up from the bottom.
OCLC?
Sounds
That one's for interlibrary loan services as well as other subscription services for the library.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
And San Miguel del Vado land grant?
That would be for Lisa on the San Miguel Senior Center.
And the last one that I have is EBSCO EBSCO.
That one's also for the library. It's for a website that allows us to know which books can be read and which ones can't be read out from the collection.
I'm sorry. I can barely hear you because the air conditioner is blowing in our ears.
It's a subscription that the library pays for. It's essentially a website that allows us to know which materials can be weeded out from the collection and which ones can't.
Thank you. I guess I had all these questions because the total for the report for 2 months is $5,209,111.03. That's a lot of money for 2 months. And so, if these are bills that we have to pay every month, that's an awful lot of money going out to the different entities. So, just wanted to find out.
Oh,
Thank
it
you
does
very-
include
It
payroll.
does. I believe it does.
That also includes payroll.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Tana, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On the 5 million that goes out, what does the actual report look like? Because I have some questions on this, which you're ready to take off. With regards to the reserves and how much we've saved.
As indicated by the revenue reports that I did for the major funds, which is the general fund and the enterprise funds, you can see that we brought in more available cash than what we expended in, so therefore any cash that was carried over from the prior year was not expended.
And as far as spending, have we been careful with spending?
Most definitely. We review all requisitions and ensure that adequate quotes have been received, and in addition to ensuring that there's adequate funding in that budget line item. I'm sure staff could tell you that we're pretty tough, you know, and we have a process and the procedures that we have to follow to ensure that the expenditure is necessary and reasonable.
And are the saving projections higher or lower than they used to be in the past?
They're higher because we've been able to build up our cash balances by being conservative in our spending, and which the city has benefited from increased cash balance.
And I also have a couple of questions on the Moody report. I was looking at this with regards to the credit strengths. Could you identify or explain the actual credit strength? Do you have that with you? If not,
Yes,
no.
I do.
Do you have that with you?
This report that I made available to you is based on the 2017 audit report. And it pretty much reflects what are the Moody's report we received on the 2018 audit report. And they were a little bit more extensive in the 2019 report as to all the details about our GRT. We rely heavily on GRT funding, but our credit rating is still A2 in 2017, and 2018 and 2019.
Could you also explain the liquidity? Third page.
For the 2017 adjusted, no, that's
It's way on the top.
it's way on the top. Yeah.
Operating funds, net cash remains healthy. Right here, the third page.
There you go. Oh. Here. Absolutely.
Take this one.
Thank you.
Take it.
Very much.
You're welcome.
Operating funds net cash remains healthy with fiscal year 2017 total operating cash equal to 3.2 million, healthy 27% of operating revenues. So since 2014, we have steadily made this progress, and hopefully when we get the 2020 report based on our 2019 audit, it will also reflect the same strengths.
Okay, and one more question on my part is the issue of the debt and pensions. We have low debt burden and elevated pension burden. Could you explain how that works and why it's stated that way?
Well, the debt burden is future is based on what the city will bring in the future as far as revenues in order to pay that debt off. The pension liability is based on, we have a pension plan that's called a qualified pension plan, meaning that the association that we have entrusted our pension monies with could at some point in the future go bankrupt. However, because our pension plan is a qualified plan, we still are liable to our retirees to continue making those retirement payments. And the estimates that are shown in our financials for that pension liability is if the PARA, the Public Employees Retirement Association, were to go bankrupt and be unable to pay that debt. But currently, it's only affecting our financials as far as the audit report goes because they're required by GASB to report it.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tana. Good job.
Thank you, Ms. Vega. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda are the consent agenda items, and
Oh, we need it.
sorry.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, and 4, and request that the clerk read them into the record proper.
Consent item 1, approval of resolution 19-48 for the participation in the local government road fund program match waiver, which is administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation in the amount of $80,878.10. Item 2, approval of resolution 19-49, assuring the city of Las Vegas supports a request for a 1-year extension to project number SP-4-19957 co-op grant due to weather delays. Item 3, approval of resolution 1951, recommendation to award engineering services to Moles & Corbin for Salazar and Romero Street. Item 4, approval of resolution number 19-50, 2021 through to 2025 infrastructure capital improvement plan for the city of Las Vegas Senior Center.
We have a motion, and we have a second. Roll call.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey and a second by Councilor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is business items, and we have the approval, disapproval of International Association of Firefighters Local 4625 agreement. Mr. Mochaya.
Thank you, Madam Manager.
Good evening.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Madam Manager, again, good evening. First, I'd like to start off by introducing our new president, Mr. L.A. Sena. He worked with us diligently on getting this contract completed. I'd also like to acknowledge my staff that's on duty today and command staff in the back of the room. So we have a few bullet points to go over in regards to the contract. We come before you tonight to present the negotiated union contract that several of us have worked on over the past couple of months. The management team consisted of Ms. Tana Vega, Dominic Chavez, Deputy Chief Span, Esther Garduño, Kenny Roy Ball, and Wanda Salazar. I will be representing the management team as the lead, and Mr. Sena will be representing all union representation as well. So this was a partial contract that consisted of discussing and negotiating the following articles. We'll start off with Article 20, which is a disciplinary action, non-economic article. All language is maintained from the current contract, with an addition to the article referencing off-duty conduct that may diminish the integrity of the fire department. The second article was Article 22, outside employment, also a non-economic, and this was secondary employment. This is a new article that was added to the contract that defines all procedures and requirements for secondary employment to be obtained or volunteer work. This is in accordance with the current admin regulation and provides an in-depth understanding of what the primary employer requires. The third article is Article 32. This was compensation, the economic article. So this article refers to the economic agreement of a $1 increase to all bargaining unit employees, as well as a 1.5 annual increase thereafter. The last article is Article 38, also non-economical, terms of the agreement. All language from the current contract is maintained, with an addition to the article stating that Local 4625 will receive written confirmation by February 28th of 2020, acknowledging the request to open a full successor bargaining agreement. The initial meeting to begin negotiations will occur no later than March 18th, 2020. This will allow all parties involved adequate time to do research, to review all different agreements that are within the state of New Mexico. Basically just gives us a head start on the negotiating process, so we can start it off in the February, March timeframe, and we'll get to you earlier in the year. That concludes the changes that we've negotiated. And in closing, I'd like to thank all management staff and union members for all their hard work and professional understanding during this process. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Senna if you'd like to mention anything.
I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to speak and giving me the opportunity to meet you face to face. Thank you.
Also, we appreciate everything that you guys do for us, and with that, we'll entertain any questions.
Questions, comments?
I'm glad you guys finally got it.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe I don't have my notes with me. I left them at home. I was rushing out. Under the Article 20 disciplinary action, could you explain how you came to the conclusion of, and I think it's under Article I-20I,
yes,
of the disciplinary conduct for cause of disciplinary action, off-duty conduct?
Yes, ma'am. After reviewing several contracts throughout the state, we've noticed that this article, we didn't copy it word for word, but we formulated it around what would work for our department specifically. It's in a bunch of contracts right now as agreements, and without getting into too many details on personnel issues or anything like that, it basically covers the department and staff for any type of diminishing integrity that may occur off duty.
Okay, and do you see, or anyone that was working with you, see an actual conflict of interest with actual on-duty conduct versus off-duty conduct?
Not that we've seen. No, ma'am.
So you don't see that there might have been a conflict if something happened, let's say, in my experience, okay, if something happened within your department and then they left and there was a continuation of that conduct outside. Has that ever happened, or where they have actually disciplined someone because there was already an issue within the city?
Not to my knowledge. I know there's a few different positions on it that I can't get into as far as personnel issues that I've seen recently.
I understand that. We don't want to discuss specifics.
Right now, no conflict that has occurred.
Okay, so in my experience in HR, if there's an issue within this that happens or occurs, let's say there's a fight within two employees, so you discipline them within your department, but then they leave and there's a continuation of that discipline or that conduct. Let's say they go to Walmart and they fight again. Now, do you address that within your department again, or what do you do?
Yes, with this letter I on the agreement, we would be able to address it within the department as well as
because it's a continuation of that conduct.
Because it's a continuation, yes, ma'am. As well as legal ramifications that may be taken with law enforcement as well in that particular instance.
Now, to what degree are employees required to report conduct that does not happen within your department?
Anything that could be diminishing that we think as far as any type of legal action that may involve an arrest, that may involve law enforcement, whether it's just allegations or formal arrest, anything like that would be grounds for this process right here, where they advise command staff immediately, especially if it's going to affect their being off a shift maybe because something occurred off duty, anything like that.
So you're saying that the range of conduct for them to actually report to you would have to be something egregious.
The range of conduct for off-duty would have to involve something that would diminish the integrity of the department, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
let's
they
say,
got-
let's
let's
say
say-
example, a DWI. for
Okay,
example.
that's fair.
So something like that, a fist fight at a bar, anything like that. Now, we actually have a policy that if you get a speeding ticket, you're to report it immediately to your supervisor and so on and so forth, so we can make sure that you're still eligible to drive the fire truck and it's not going to impact the insurance, all of that. So it can range from a variety, from a simple speeding ticket to, God forbid, anybody get a DWI or a fist fight or so on and so forth.
So if they get a speeding ticket,
Mhm.
do you go through this process on I and you discipline them?
If it's not reported to us immediately, then that's grounds for disciplinary action. If it's reported to us in a timely manner and it's as simple as a speeding ticket, department, vehicles department, uniform department, none of that's involved, then you go about your business, of course, and you don't get disciplinary action. Now, when it involves the department, let's say this hasn't happened, but let's say they were to say, hey, I'm a firefighter with the city of Las Vegas, can you give me a break? And you start utilizing your position to try to get out of it, for example, then that would be grounds for disciplinary action as far as the city, as far as our department.
So essentially any form of reporting,
Yes, ma'am.
and the union is fine with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any further questions? Councilor Hall?
Thank you, Mayor. Chief,
Yes, sir.
now your committee created these amendments for the contract.
Correct.
Okay, did you have to go back to the union members to ask to get a vote?
Yes, sir, and the union had opportunity to go back and they've made their recommendations as a counteroffer. We met again, agreed upon it. They got their votes from all their members and we got our votes from ours and we all agreed upon it. And everything that we brought forth to council today has gone through our legal counsel. It has been voted on management team and our manager has also had the opportunity to look at it.
Was the union vote unanimous?
It
Or a
was,
yay?
Majority. The one stipulation that we did put in was the 3/5 vote in.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What? I'm sorry.
One of the stipulations that we did add was the 3/4 vote, so that way the union would be present and be able to represent said person if any infraction occurred.
And your votes, Chief, on your
Yes,
side?
unanimous.
Unanimous?
Yes, sir.
And our city attorney was present during this negotiations.
She was part of the committee.
Yes, and she reviewed all of the documentation.
Were you present during the negotiations?
I wasn't present at all negotiations, however, I was able to review the documents in preparation.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, it was a pleasure to work. Thank you.
No problem.
Good job.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the International Association of Firefighters Local 4625 agreement.
Roll call.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Yulibri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Good job, Chief.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Councilors' reports. Counselor Romero.
Just concerned continuance with, code enforcement, as far as, weeds. I know we continue to give you addresses, but I think it's unfair. I think that, I don't know if they're not making the round or what's happening, that if we could ensure that that's happening.
We do, Counselor, thank you, Counselor Casey, I'm sorry, Counselor Romero. Actually, I believe they gave out 40 red tags last week, and we've been going back and forth with the weed issue, and so we'll continue to do it. We'll continue to move forward, and if you have any other, we won't wait for the addresses, but if you have any that you particularly want us to look at, we'll be glad to do that.
And then the other thing, I know we have the ordinance, the abandoned building ordinance. If that's something that we could get an update from code enforcement as to, because I went ahead and read that, and there's some stipulations where, you know, if they're abandoned, you know, there's a permit that they're supposed to apply for and have insurance and all that. So I just want to see where we're at. You know, are we ensuring that's happening, or do we not have the manpower to do that, you know, for these abandoned buildings?
We have been looking at especially the ones which are in very poor condition that could in fact affect the safety of the public. We have looked at those abandoned buildings. We're trying to do as much as we can and trying to contact the property owner. With the property owner, it's difficult to locate the property owner, especially if they've abandoned the building. So we are constantly going over to San Miguel County to see who the owners are. And we'll continue to do it. I mean, we just need to continue to try to enforce the ordinance that is on the books.
That's it for now.
Okay.
Thank you,
Counselor
Counselor.
Casey.
Thank you. I also had some questions on the code enforcement regarding the older buildings. I get kind of scared sometimes walking by some of the buildings. I was walking in front of the Masonic Temple, and the pieces of rock are just falling on the sidewalk. And that it's a beautiful building, and I would hate to see it just crumble to the ground at any second. And so I'm concerned about that. I was also wondering if we're going to get a formal report on the cultural Department of Cultural Preservation, or whatever it is, that did a review of the buildings, so that we can maybe discuss them and see what we can do to ensure that those buildings don't continue to deteriorate, and that those have a more focused attention to them. I think I would hate to see us lose our beautiful buildings.
There's some very beautiful buildings that I'm hoping that we have some potential sales on some of those buildings. They're working on some of them on Bridge Street. We are hoping that Grand Avenue will also be sold. But let me get together with community development and see if we can put a report together on some of those historical buildings, especially the historical buildings. And we just had, I believe, 6 or 7 buildings looked at just recently, and so I'm thinking that we had sent that over to that report over to you, but if not, I'll get it back to you.
We have the report, but I'm just wondering,
sure,
what are we going to do about it?
I think, let me kind of address that. I've been asking that question for many years, and one of the issues or problems is that it's essentially the owner's responsibility to either sell it or fix it, and we've been contemplating and arguing that for many, many years now. We try to go to the owners and work with them to see if they are willing to sell, because we do have individuals that come to us sometimes and are willing to purchase. But also, I've been talking to some realtors. They're willing to put them on the market. They're willing to sell them. But again, it all goes back to the responsibility of the owner. Either they want to sell it or they don't want to sell it. And it's really unfortunate because the history is lost. When one of those buildings goes down is just tremendous. But we'll continue to work on that.
Yeah, maybe we need to take a look at that ordinance and strengthen it a bit. The other issue that I had is I got some phone calls from people that saw a posting on Facebook saying that the Boo Fest has been canceled. Any reason?
We're looking at that, Counselor. I am meeting with community development to see what the best. We've had one successful Boo Fest, and that's been at the plaza. We have some of the vendors who are a little bit concerned. I believe Counselor Howell can attest to our meeting on Friday, where they are wanting us to do other events somewhere else. The Boo Fest that was held at the plaza 2 years ago was successful. Last year we didn't have it there. We moved it to Lincoln Park, and then it snowed, and we ended up having to move it somewhere else. So we need to look at that and just see how best it fits. We do have an event that's happening October the 19th at the museum for the Children's Museum. It's a Halloween Fest, is what it's called. And they have been going out to the different vendors for donations of candy, and then there's a couple of stores that are going to be doing their own parking lots with vehicles where you can go and do trick or treat there. So we really need to look at that, but we will. We are looking at that.
Thank you. That's all for me.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Three things. First, that meeting with the production company and the Las Vegas First Business Organization was a really good meeting.
It was.
Appreciate that being done. There was a lot of good comments, and my take on that was that they don't want the fiestas moved from the plaza. That's what I heard. They want other events possibly to be moved. They don't want Bridge Street closed for long periods of time, earlier than the event starting. And they want film to exist. They love the films. So those are the things. And we gave the production company some good ideas on how to mitigate some of the problem areas. So I really appreciated the meeting.
Yes, and it was a good meeting with them. We intend to schedule another meeting with them once again, just to continue the discussion as to what things we want to do with our plaza. Our plaza is a beautiful area. People want to hold events there, and so it's difficult for the vendors. So we need to find a balance, and hopefully with the number of vendors that we had there, and then the city staff that were there, the production company that was there, they were all pretty cooperative and really wanted to collaborate with everyone in order to continue the filming as well as the events that were there.
I think when different production companies come, we should do that also with them.
That's a very good idea. Yes, sir.
And also, I heard that hopefully we can regenerate the Film Commission and get that going again. I think that was a consensus of everybody.
And it looks like the chamber may be doing something along with the city and the county on the Film Commission. I think it's an excellent opportunity for us.
Good. My second point, the property that, the building that crumbled, and you can go down Grand Avenue and you'll see all the bricks falling down. There's been observed some kids are inside that building. So I don't know, there is no fence there. And people are going into that building, with kids, I guess, teenagers.
The one that came down?
Yes.
There is a fence right in front of it, because I went by there, after you and I talked, I did go by there, but I think that we need to contact either the owner or the person who is facilitating the possible negotiation of that building, and so I'll do that in the morning and try to make contact with them.
So they're either jumping the fence or somehow they're getting in there.
It must be, but I'll contact them and let them know that there is some people that are going in.
My third point is consumers have been driving down Mills Avenue at nighttime, and they've been telling me there is no lights on. What is our problem with the lights? Because
there's a short. Is Christy here? Christy. I'll let him explain it better than I think he has a little bit. You want to come on up? Christy, come on up.
Yeah, could you come up? Christy, thank you.
We have 35 to 40 light poles and a crisscrossing, and he's down to the last 10. He should have them done by Friday. Well, there's one night that you can go down and they're on, or another night they're on, but there's this short that we can't find. But we're having to go through every single light pole, through every contactor. So that's what's going on.
Does P&M have a technical way of finding shortage?
The only thing with P&M is we have to do work orders through Santa Fe and then they have to send them back to Vegas, and by the time they do it, it's a long process. No? But he should have them ready by Friday, completely.
Okay, to identify the short?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it seems like just one
side
little
at a
wind,
time.
one little wind will.
Yeah, one little wind's touching.
Which is what happened
rounding
on.
out the swords, no?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, hopefully we can mitigate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Councilor Reddy?
Madam Mayor, on code enforcement, is there a way that code enforcement could go every, like the old town part, the west side part of the town, that they could make a list on the abandoned cars and properties, in all the wards, and give us a report on what he's doing on all the wards? Because there's a lot of abandoned vehicles all over town now. And I just say when I go by, but maybe code enforcement could give us a report on that?
Sure. I think they probably already have somewhat of a report, but I'll get a report by your ward if you'd like, and then we can get that over to you. Sure. I'll be glad to do so.
Thank you, that's all.
Is that it? Councilor Howell, you have one more question?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. This is towards the chief here. Chief,
Sir.
I think hopefully we can provide more security throughout the Riverwalk, because a lot of our community members that have been walking through the Riverwalk are now scared and fearful of their life because of some of the incidences that has been happening there, especially when there was a death that was found. So we don't know how we can do that except for having police walk the walk over there.
Yes.
But it's well needed, I believe. So
Yes,
I just wanted to let you know, and the concerns from the community. And that's from, I believe, actually from Grand to Mills, so, on the Riverwalk.
Yes, sir.
Councilor
I just had one question. As far as the rec center, we know that the workout area is closed, but there's been questions asked as what happens during the months that it's closed? Will their passes be extended?
Yes. Yes.
Is that what's going to happen?
I believe so.
Right now, we have a freeze on everybody's membership. So when they're done, we'll give them their days. They're not missing out on those that's paid a month in advance or 2 months. They're going to have their days from the time you close till you reopen. So we're going to.
Okay. Could you somehow put that out? I don't know, you guys might be on the radio soon.
It's on the PSA.
Okay. Yeah, because I've gotten a few calls from that.
Yeah, it's on the PSA.
Could you post it on
More than welcome to call and let them know.
They've been, and if you have any little projects, they've been, now that they've been closed, they've been painting and really doing some thorough cleaning in the building. And you are scheduled to be open, do you have an approximate date? Or
Well, you just say we have 30, 40 days. We're hoping it's not going to extend 40 days, so it looks like they're on time. I can't give an exact date.
No, you're right.
All right.
You're right.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Do we have a need for executive session?
I do not.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
I move that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters as permitted by Section 10-15-1H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act and MSA 1978, and for the purpose of discussing matters pertaining to attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the City of Las Vegas is or may become a participant as permitted by Section 10-15-1H7 of the New Mexico Meetings Act and MSA 1978.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Counselor Yulaguri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go into into regular session. Counselor Casey.
Madam Mayor, I move that we reconvene into regular session after having been in executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters as permitted by Section 10-15-1, H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, and for discussing matters subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the City of Las Vegas may become a participant as permitted by Section 10-15-1, H7 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978. No action was taken, and only those items were discussed.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Yellowberry Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Yellowberry Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor,
Thank
members of
you
the
all very
council.
much.